How old were you when you stopped believing in Santa Claus?
Oh god, my older brothers ruined it for me. I was like, I want to say like 8. And they're like, you know Santa Claus isn't real. And I was like, do not fucking tell my younger brother that. I will kill you guys, but
Nobody died?
no.
That's good.
Because then I told my mom and she was like, bro, if you guys tell Nick that Santa wasn't real, I'm gonna kick your ass.
So how old were you?
I was 8. My brother was like 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never believed in Santa Claus.
Did your family like?
I don't. Probably because we were raised, religious. Like there wasn't like there is no Santa Claus bit. I just have no recollection of ever being like. I never had that. Oh, what do you mean he's not real? Like I never had that moment.
But there was no like you woke up on Christmas morning and it was like, where are the presents from Santa?
There was from Santa presents in there, but like all of my memories, all of it, like my parents. It's my parents. So I have absolutely like no recollection of ever believing in Santa Claus or ever having the realization that he wasn't real. All of my memory is that he's just a figment of my imagination. The heartbreak came later on when I found out that, God wasn't real.
Wait.
Cheers! But that's another story for another podcast. And tonight is the Jony Horror Podcast. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Shit. Returning champion MVP, Abbey Bowen is in the house. How the hell are you?
I'm really good. I'm happy to be here.
Hey, I'm happy to have you here. This is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I thought about the idea of having a guy sitting on the other end of me for this particular podcast, and it just did not seem right.
Okay.
I feel like with this particular film that we're going to discuss,
yes.
I need a woman's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And, who better, right?
I don't speak for all women.
We're talking about Black Christmas tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Not the 2019 or the 2006, but the original 1974. Huh?
I did not know there was a 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Yeah, no.
Yeah, there's a 2006 that plays it a lot closer than what the 2019 version did. Not a great movie. Still kind of like I rewatched it for a second time this year, last week, and still a fun Christmas horror movie.
Yeah.
But apples and oranges, two very, very different types of films.
Yeah, I feel you.
But, I feel like on our very first episode that we ever did, we talked about traditions, and you, low-key, it was a Halloween episode, but you low-key dropped that you
what I
watched The Exorcist every Christmas, which I thought was super duper cool and just off the beaten path.
Yeah.
I love that. Do you have any other holiday traditions that you partake in?
Oh God. Besides like spending it with family, of course. Nothing really that I can say. I mean, I always actually buy my Christmas tree about 2 to 3 days before Christmas because I like to go to the Christmas tree lots or whatever and get the ones that look like Charlie Brown but like this tall, and then just spend $25 on what it would have been like a $100 tree.
Smart play.
And just decorate it real quick and put it up.
Smart play. It's definitely not what I do, but you're more fiscally responsible.
Well, that and it was just like it's not really my thing. You know that. Yeah.
Hey, to each their own.
Agreed. Yeah.
I, on the other hand, fucking love Christmas. If someone put a gun to my head and was like, pick between Halloween and Christmas, that would be a very, very, very hard decision.
Okay, I thought you were about to say Christmas, and I was gonna throw my.
No, there's. I would say the Halloween like wins out just in the sense that I essentially get to celebrate it for 2 months straight, where Christmas I feel like I have 3 weeks to really enjoy Christmas. Because
I'm judging you right now.
Because once Thanksgiving happens, and I mean we've started celebrating pretty much as soon as we get Halloween decorations down, we throw Christmas decorations up.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work. You've seen what my house looks like. Arguably more Christmas decorations than we do Halloween decorations.
No, I would say about even.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work for 4 weeks, you know?
Yeah.
So now we've made a point of starting as early as, fucking the second week of November, which fuck it. Thanksgiving is a pre-game for Christmas. That's what it is. I'm sorry, folks. Hot take over here, but
well, hot take. I hate when people start talking about Christmas on like October 1st, and I'm like, oh.
Well, no, we're still in. But I mean, the holidays begin with Halloween and end with New Year's. Like that is the holiday season. Yeah. So, but talking about Halloween, we're talking about Christmas. What's the best of both worlds? We get
Black Christmas.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm gonna go ahead and pat myself on the back here and say that I turned you on to this movie, did I not?
Yes, you did.
Because
I had zero clue before you. When we were working at a restaurant that
shall remain nameless.
I was just like, dump the best Halloween movies on me, and then after that, it was so good, and I was like, what? Well, now I'm going into the holiday, and you were like, this one. And
I think I ended up giving it to you as a Christmas present.
Yeah, you did.
Because at that particular point in my life, I was not really into holiday horror. Like, I used the holiday season to watch like Christmas movies and other genres that I didn't typically dive into throughout the rest of the year. It was almost kind of like, all right, I just watched every single horror movie I could think of for the last 2 months. Let's give it a rest. That's very much not where my brain is in this day and age. I get angry when I have to watch something that isn't a horror movie now. But it was probably had to be one of the very first like holiday horror movies I ever saw, and I saw it that year. And because we were really kind of, in the early stages of our friendship, and one of the things that we bonded over was scary movies, that it was like, oh, you have to watch this. Like, I was so taken aback by it and so just had no idea. And it was just like, well, who is a friend that I have that I can share this with?
Yeah.
So, do you recall kind of what watching that for the first time was like for you? Did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into at all?
I just knew going in, because you gave it to me, recommended it to me, that it was going to be horror or like scary, some sort. Went through it and I actually really enjoyed, there's like this really dark aesthetic to it, even though it's like Christmas time. Everything has a dark aesthetic, and just there were like huge Christmas trees everywhere throughout the film, regardless. And it was just like very in your face Christmas, but at the same time it was just like, what is going on? This is scary. Like, and that I had never like met that like melding of genres before, so I was kind of like, it's fucking badass.
Yeah.
It's making me appreciate Christmas more, because I'm kind of a Grinch.
You know,
or a Scrooge, whatever.
I think they both fall into the same category.
Yeah.
All right, well, before we dive into our likes and our dislikes, as we are known to do on this podcast, let's just give a brief synopsis of the film. In the film, sorority house comes under attack by a nameless, faceless killer who remains in the shadows and calls them up on the phone and picks them off one by one, and slowly but surely we come to realize that the killer may or may not be in the house. Blah, 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 blah. Up to this point, I don't think we had seen this before. We get When a Stranger Calls in, I believe, in the 80s. If I remember right.
This was the 70s, though.
Yes, this is before that. So up to this point, this particular storyline of the killer is in the house, spoiler alert, shit's gonna be spoiled in
Huge
this too.
Spoiler.
I think was a fairly original idea. So bonus points all around for that. Yeah, we're going to jump on into the good stuff right out the gate. Why don't you hit me with one of the things you liked about this film?
Sorry, I'm going to consult my iPhone where I had to take notes, where I'm old school and normally would have written on pen and paper. Mrs. Mack.
She's great.
Mrs. Mack, she's so great. Like, when Claire's dad comes and she's like covering the posters and like everywhere she hid her, was that actually sherry that she was drinking?
Yeah, that is sherry.
It was weird to see it in okay, so that was sherry.
And she has a very particular brand, and she just hides the bottles everywhere because you never know when you're gonna need a swig of sherry
and a little bit of book. Like, go. That was definitely a highlight. Also,
yeah.
The first thing you said, because I have a cat, obviously he does not.
I could have a cat.
I thought you were allergic.
No, not that I'm aware.
Well,
I had a cat when we had cats when we were little, or when I was younger, and they all got fleas in our whole house.
No,
we had cats with babies, and they got fleas. So I've been scarred for life.
Okay.
So.
Anywho, that is not how you have cats. That was back in the day. So now there was this huge cat, and I'm like, that's a fucking giant cat. And
it's a big cat.
Jonathan looks at me and says, do you ever call your cat Puss? And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Because this girl was picking up this like mammoth baby of a cat, being like, hey Puss, how are you? And I was like, no.
That's mammoth baby of a cat. That's a.
I'm sorry, because it was very big.
Very big.
And furry, and just like It's a Mancoon.
How big do you think that cat is underneath all that fur? Probably pretty tiny,
like
right?
tiny, but like the fur just makes it a mammoth.
Yeah, he's a big poofball.
Poofball.
Yeah, Claude's great. Claude
Mm-hmm.
definitely leads to the demise of a number of characters in this film, I feel
Yeah,
like. Because everyone's always looking for fucking Claude. Yeah, I actually had Mrs. Mack on there too. I had her comedy / the humor in the entire film, because this is actually a fairly humorous movie. There's some great bits of comedy throughout, and it's all, there is, I would say, the over the top bits are with Mrs. Mack and her bottles of booze and trying to cover up the poster in a very not so subtle fashion, when she's talking to Claire's dad, and that's all almost borderline slapstick, just in the sense of how over the top it is, where she's like covering the poster, like, all right, honey, calm down. But this film is directed by Bob Clark, who also directed another very famous Christmas movie that I have not seen, called A Christmas Story.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, I've not seen it.
Are you fucking kidding me?
I've never seen it.
Are you fucking kidding me? I literally have the leg lamp. Anyone who has seen this, the leg lamp in my fucking living room year round.
I thought you were a Scrooge or a Grinch.
A Christmas Story is literally the best fucking movie ever. Oh, I'm not gonna buy you.
I feel like that's hyperbole.
Well, it depends. It depends on the person. Sorry, I'm getting really animated right now. But you have not. Are you freaking kidding me?
I have not seen it.
Look, please Google on your phone what the leg lamp is.
I know what it is. I'm very aware of all of the tropes, and you're gonna shoot your eye out, kid, and double dog dare you, the tongue on the thing.
Yes!
Like I'm aware of all of that. The fucking bunny suit. I mean, it is ingrained in pop culture. Like, it's hard not to know. I just have never taken the time to watch it.
Okay. I digress.
But yes, Bob Clark directed that film and this film.
Okay,
so
no wonder I love it.
He definitely knows his humor, and I do believe, if I remember correctly, I know he at the very least had a part to play in Porky's, because there's a lot of the same actors in there. I can't remember if he actually directed it or not, if he just wrote and produced it. Give me 1 second here.
I cannot believe you have not seen
Stop
that.
yelling at me. I'm one man. There's only so many films I can watch. Yes, he directed Porky's as well. And Baby Geniuses, which we don't need to go into.
Which I've also seen. Why have I seen that?
Yeah, I saw it when I was little. But Porky's is amazing. Porky's is super funny. Maybe a little out of date. But the humor in this film, I think, is very, very good overall. A lot of it feels, with the exception of Mrs. Mack, and I like the Mrs. Mack stuff. I really do. But with the exception of Mrs. Mack, all the humor feels very natural. Like the fellatio stuff, it's all, you have Nash, the cop that is just dumb. He's a dumb man and he doesn't know, but his dumb man stuff really plays into stuff that we'll get into more in a little bit, with men just telling women to calm down, essentially.
Yeah.
But again, more on that later. There is just the humor in it. It never feels forced. Again, with the exception of the Mrs. Mack stuff, but that is almost earned because we were introduced to that character and we have an idea of what she's about from the get-go.
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
But I really like the humor in this, and I feel like in this movie this movie that is as bleak as it fucking is, because this is a bleak fucking movie.
Yeah.
The humor really lends itself to the holiday spirit that you can find in this movie, because I do think there is an abundance of holiday spirit in this very, very dark horror film. But yeah, what else you got for me?
As far as
goods. We're on the goods.
Sorry, let me consult my iPhone again, because I usually write these on paper, like I said before. The fellatio, as we talked about, and the fact that she's spelling it out and she's like, it's a new. I didn't understand the term that she was.
I don't understand. I think it's just before our time.
It was something from the 70s.
Yeah.
It was like, it was a new code.
It's a new exchange. FE.
And then she said lowercase, like she specified
it's
that.
Capital L, E, or capital F, E, little L.
Little L, not lowercase. And then he's like, yeah.
He's intently writing it, yeah.
And then when they go into the room to the, sorry, you were like wheezing laughing at this.
Oh, the cops later on.
He's like trying to dial it, and then he's like,
when Lieutenant Fuller gets it, yeah.
Like on screen wheezing laugh. Like,
it's a great bit. And I mean, again, that just goes back to what we were talking about with the humor in this.
Yeah.
It is so genuine, the laughter in that scene where I don't know the other cop who was doing the laughing. I don't know his name. But god damn if I do not believe that man is laughing his ass off. And it fills me with so much joy. And I laugh not because the scene itself is especially like funny to me anymore, but because that man's laughter
is just like
so
choking.
Yeah, it's so genuine that I'm like, I can't help but laugh because it is just a beautiful thing. And I think I agree. I think that whole scene and the way it comes back into play is just another great bit of writing and directing and use of humor in a film that absolutely needs a little chuckle here and there.
Well, because between that and like the beginning scenes, it gets pretty dark.
Yeah, it does.
Pretty freaking dark.
Yeah, I would say my very first note that I have here is this movie feels, and we talked about this a little bit already, you mentioned it, it just feels unequivocally like a Christmas movie. Like the aesthetic, everything about it, again, with how dark it is, it lives and breathes Christmas. There's never once that you look on the scene.
Every scene has Christmas lights.
This.
There's no scene there's not something that's Christmas in the background.
Yeah, and I mean even the stuff where it's outside and
Is that gonna fuck us up?
I mean, what are we gonna do?
Someone's taking a shower.
I think someone's taking a shower. Hopefully it ends soon. Did it like stop as soon as I walked?
It stopped as soon as he walked out, and I was just like, "Do I keep talking to people?" I was like, "I sounded dumb as shit just now."
I knew it. The second I walked out, I was like, and Celeste is actually running water right now too. She has a shower going, so I was like, "Oh fuck!" And then she's like, "Yeah, no, I just flushed the toilet." I was like, "Yep, no, that's definitely what it was."
Okay, well, can we cut out me trying to like entertain the crowd?
I just come back and you're just like juggling.
No, I'm just like, okay, how's it?
Yeah, sorry about the interruption. You know, we
oh god, that's staying in the show.
Okay, we shoot this in a garage, and the water heater is right here. So you know, it's just off.
It is what it is.
Stage left here. But yeah, this back to what we were saying before we were rudely interrupted. This it just feels like a fucking Christmas movie. All the aesthetic, it's so comforting. When you're like inside a house, because you just know it feels warm in there. Because when we cut outside, you know that's real Canadian snow out there. It looks fucking cold as shit.
And I asked you about this. Is it Canada? Because there were a lot of freaking accents.
Yes, it's a Canadian film. I looked it up. When they mention something towards the end of the film, I think it's a place called Unionville. And I looked it up, and that is Unionville, Ontario, I believe is what they're referencing.
Ontario.
So, Canadian film that I do believe takes place in Canada. Yeah. So, very cold during Christmas time, and yeah, I love the aesthetic that a horror film that is just pretty much fucking scary as shit can somehow manage to feel so Christmassy and still so inviting, even in the midst of all the scariness that's going on, and I fucking love that.
Yeah.
I also love just how the movie essentially starts off from the POV of the killer. It immediately puts you on edge. It tells you what this movie's going to be about, like, without saying anything. You just know. You see from far away the sorority house, someone walk into the sorority house. It cuts closer, but then cuts back, and then we're in the point of view of the killer because the camera starts moving and he starts climbing into the house.
Yeah.
And we know that these girls are inside, and that this is probably not a friend because he's climbing up the lattice on the side of the sorority house. So you're immediately on edge because us, as an audience, like, know that he's inside the house. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Right out the gate. Yeah. I think that's a very bold, ambitious move to essentially sell your twist, like, in the beginning of the movie, you know? And it still plays, because when she finds out, when they tell her that the killer's in the house, that revelation to her fear, we feel that. So it's still fucking scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It just puts you on edge right out the gate. And I think that's a great way to start a fucking film.
I mean, I can't disagree with that.
You're goddamn right. What else you got for me?
As far as good things? I mean, it was all good. There were funny things. There were, like you said, like, starting off with the whole, like, breathing into the camera, and, like, we're coming into the house, and, like, initially you might not realize that he was an unwanted guest, because it shows a lot of, like, opening the door for people, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, maybe that was someone they knew, and that plays into the whole, like, mystery of the ending of it, which I'm not going to spoil, but, you know, I'm frustrated.
Oh, we'll get there.
We'll get there. But then just the cinematography for me, like, I looked at you and I was like, the whole point of view camera of, like, hands, like, it was like a camera was on their face.
Yeah, like, before they could do stuff like that. No one has ever
done that.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, the whole, like, oh, it's the Moner.
Yeah.
On the phone. I didn't like that, her accent, or whatever, however she said that. And she's holding up this phone from the 70s. And all these girls are, like, in this big room, or, like, around these, like, cascading stairs. And she just has the phone like this, and they're all supposed to hear her, or hear the person being like, I'm gonna fuck your cunt, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like...
Are we talking about your goods, or are we talking about your bads?
I might be critiquing right now. Because that speakerphone scene... Am I jumping ahead?
You're going to do what you're going to do. It's fine. You're going to jump ahead.
I was going into, like, the goods and then the bads, because that followed shortly after. But it was like, they're all standing around this hall of this phone, just like this, for people watching. And somehow you're supposed to hear the guy yelling through the receiver?
I think that it's more of it's more of film trickery, the idea that these girls probably aren't hearing the whole thing by any means. Jess is probably hearing it because she's right there. Maybe Barb or a couple of the other girls are hearing it because they're pretty close. But by no means is it as loud as what we are hearing, because we got to hear that because it's the audience.
Yeah.
But I do believe that these girls are standing around hearing battling and screaming and
very terrifying.
And then the word, cunt being thrown around.
Which, by the way, is my favorite cuss word. I would never use it in like a derogatory term, but
it's a great curse word.
But he was using it.
He was using it
in a bad way.
Very much so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a ton of good stuff, so I'm gonna knock it out.
Yeah.
On that note, I'll piggyback. The phone calls are disturbing as fuck. Every time one of those phone calls happens, it is uncomfortable to sit through because you just hear this guy going through these mental things that are happening so quickly. He goes from probably something that happened in his childhood where he probably killed his little sister, and we're working on the assumption that
speculation, yeah, but I like
that. We'll work under the assumption that this character, his name is probably Billy, most likely.
Yeah.
He references the name Billy quite a bit. We can probably safely assume that Agnes is some relative, someone important, and it's a safe assumption that Agnes was a child, because with all the talking and everything, what happened to Agnes? What did you do to the baby? What happened to Billy? What happened to Agnes? Agnes, don't tell him what we did. Billy probably killed his younger sister. I'm just gonna throw that out there. His younger sister's Agnes. I feel like that's a safe bet. Or he killed a little girl named Agnes. But I think that just with how distorted his mental state is, it sounds like it was a very, very close person to him. And he jumps between that and he jumps between the sexual stuff that's in the beginning. And then at certain points he's squealing and wailing. Other points he's asking for someone to stop him, for someone to help him. This is a very, very mentally unstable human being. So much so that if you've ever come into contact with just a homeless person that is not well, you can put those things together.
Yeah.
And it becomes very real. So all of that is just very, very unsettling for me and fucking scary as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that the plastic wrap kill in the very beginning is just arguably one of the best kills in horror history. I don't think it gets enough credit because of that it really is the one shot where she's looking for Claude. Claire's looking for Claude.
Totally unexpected.
She walks past the closet and then the camera zooms in just behind the plastic. You can see a silhouette of a face, and it is fucking scary as shit. Yeah. And then Claire's killed by being wrapped in plastic, and then Claire's face is referenced throughout the rest of the film.
The whole film, yeah.
And the horror on her face is just
like intact.
Frozen.
Yeah.
There. And I don't know, man. I feel like that kill just doesn't get enough credit. And it's right out the gate. It's the very beginning of the film.
I think that's why. Because people usually are like, need to get that energy going.
Yeah.
And then a kill. And it's just like, whoa, it happened right then. And then it's not forgotten. Because everyone's like, where's Claire? Where's Claire? But the brutality of that is like, most in the whole movie.
Yeah. I agree.
Not to interrupt, sorry.
No, you're good. This is the point of the whole thing, is to have a dialogue about these things. I the abortion narrative. I think that's how do you feel about all of that? Because I feel like it is not something that is important to the plot of the film, but it is extremely important to character development. And again, this is why I think this movie, with all of its harm towards women, I think this is an extremely, and this is coming from a man, so I apologize and correct me if I'm wrong. That's why you're here. But I do feel like this is a very, very much an empowering film for women based off of the characters in this film. They, with the exception of going to the police, which is an authority that is supposed to protect people.
Yeah.
These women aren't like relying on men to save them. These are characters that are just together as a unit, as sisters. They care about each other, and they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Never do they ever feel like damsels in distress so much as just people out of their element.
Yeah.
And particularly with the character of Jess, and this is another one of my goods, that she has to be probably one of the most well-written woman characters in film history, just with everything that she does. She is, I would say she's more empowered than Laurie Strode.
Oh, yeah.
Because Laurie Strode starts off as a particularly weak character that is emboldened by the things that happen to her. Jess, I feel, is a very, very strong, empowered woman from the start.
Yeah.
She made up her mind about what she's going to do with this baby. Her boyfriend be damned.
And I don't know if I would put it in those terms, but I'll let you go on that.
Well, spoiler alert, he is damned.
He is damned, yeah.
But she never backs down from any of the pressure that he puts on her to keep the baby. She says,
and
nope.
He's also very degrading.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that, again, is another note that I have in goods, not because Peter's behavior is good, but the way that character is written is such a believable and realistic thing. Peter sees himself, and even Jess is not particularly harsh when talking about him, saying that he's a gentle person, that no, Peter's not like that. I think Peter is your normal average guy, but with a magnifying glass put on him, you can see how controlling he is while he thinks he's being a good guy. He's trying to micromanage her in order for her to do the things that he wants, while painting this brush of, no, I'll marry you. I'll take care of you. You can do the things you want to do. You know? Very much so. And never once does Jess ever fall for any of that bullshit.
No, that's not gonna happen. Like, I've got my plan. Like,
I mean, I've watched a lot of movies, and I've watched a lot of horror movies, and I just can't think of another female character that is just right out the gate so, like, no, I know who I am, and that's not gonna happen, pal.
I would say in her defense, like, her conversation with him is, that's not gonna happen, pal, because I really hated that when, sorry, I'm getting a little,
No, please.
Piano scene. When we first see that he's playing the piano and she says this is going on and he's like, well, you didn't have this conversation with me. Why didn't you tell me before? And why do you always think about yourself? And then there's a later scene where she's saying, well, I want to do these things and you want to be a pianist, concert, you want to play concerts, you want to do all this stuff. And if we have a baby now, we can't do that. That is how she said it. She said she was not thinking about herself the whole time. She was thinking about him and her, and also this baby that they were going to bring into the world. And for him to be like, you only think about yourself, but for her the whole time to be like, well, I thought of you first, and then me, and then you, and then me, because we have a future. And if we have something right now, that's going to hold us back from that future.
Yeah, I think that she is thinking on multiple levels. Certainly
exactly.
not.
He's just...
Yeah, well, he's, again, he even says that horrendous line, you selfish bitch, you only think about yourself.
Yeah.
Or it's, I think it might be combining two lines. He says, you selfish bitch, you're talking about, killing a baby like having a wart removed. But to further your point, the great thing that I thought about when watching it this time was that Jess talks about Peter and what he wants to do and how important that was to him up to the point that he
found out,
failed, and now he wants to give up because he's having a temper tantrum essentially.
But sorry,
no, please.
The reason that he failed was because right before that conversation, she said, we'll talk about it later. And maybe this isn't, I don't know if in that scene he was thinking about the baby more so than like thinking about like, she is going against what I want to have. Yeah,
and I'm sure that plays into it. I don't think he failed his recital because of that.
Well, he was like sweating like crazy. And he was like, I don't know what's going
on. From that I just got that he's playing and he's stressed and he doesn't like he knows. If you've ever been in a thing like you're performing in any way, shape, or form, and you're not feeling it, it's not good.
Why wasn't he not feeling it?
I just think
because he got news that he didn't agree with, and then he smashed a completely beautiful piano.
I have that in my random thoughts. I says Peter,
beautiful piano.
Yeah, I have Peter destroys a piano. Is it his to destroy? Like whose piano is that? Yeah, but to jump back, my thought this time watching it was Jess never talks about the things that she wants to do. And I liked that. I like that a lot. She just says, I told you about some of the things that I wanted to do, and I still want to do those things. And what I really liked about that was that this character is not beholden to a thing. It's not, oh, my dad died when I was little, so now I have daddy issues. Or I like horses, so horseback riding is my thing.
Yeah.
Like, as screenwriters are known to do, and this is kind of a thing in the 2006 remake of Black Christmas, where each of the female characters in that film has like a niche, and they're a one-off character. We have the drunk character.
Yeah.
We have the character that knows how to fix things, and we have this character.
We did have that in this movie too, I will say.
There's definitely that. Barb is the drunk character.
But also Mrs. Mac.
Also Mrs. Mac. I think Mrs. Mac is more comic relief than actual character. Where Barb, I feel like, is, and I have notes on Barb. I think she's a really good character, actually.
Yeah.
But I think Jess just has to be. She's so fucking good. She's such a wonderfully written character and brave despite herself. Like, she does not need to go back upstairs to get her friends. Get the fuck out of the house.
She's like, hello, we're going, like, don't be dumb.
Uh-huh.
Don't be the one in that Geico commercial that's like, can we just get in the running car?
Yes.
How do you not... Do you remember that Geico commercial?
The Halloween
They
one,
come
right?
out of the cornfield and this guy is like, they want to like hide where all the freaking knives are. And it's like, just get in the freaking running car.
And I very much, that moment is like a stupid horror movie people doing stupid horror movie people things. But that character's earned it because these are her friends and she cares about them. And at that moment, us as audience members know that they're dead. She doesn't.
Mm-mm.
So she's going up there to get her friends.
Yeah.
I think everything that revolving around Jess, I think she's such a well-rounded character in ways that I just feel like I haven't seen in most movies, because it's not in your face.
No, it was very,
It's just that's who this person is.
Who she is.
You know?
And it wasn't overwritten, it wasn't overacted, it was,
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Hmm.
But any thoughts for you, any thoughts to piggyback on that, just as far as a woman and how women are portrayed in film, even to this day, like, are there things that bother you that you're just like, yeah, that's not how girls are, or that's not how...
I don't know, because I don't really want to, like, put it into, like, that's not how girls are, that's not how women are. It's generalizing. Like, there's always different characters. There's always, like, I'm very proud of Jess's character. I'm still very proud of Laurie Strode for everything. It's a different experience for all characters, you know, and all women and all girls. So I don't want to go in and say, like, oh, I was disappointed in something or the other. Like, I would have to be, like, faced with it. It's not something that in my mind that I'm thinking
Sticks
of.
out, yeah. I got that.
I do think that there's a lot of times that male directors and writers have tried to write female characters into, like, some sort of thing, and it hasn't really worked out.
Yeah.
Not that I can come up with a specific example, but I do think it's cool to see how even in the 70s, strong female or women characters were portrayed and written this way and acted this way.
Yeah, that was actually my note. The thing that really stuck out to me is that this was written by a man. So that's really really interesting to me, because I know a lot of the time we get it wrong, or, you know, even in Halloween, John Carpenter wrote Halloween with Deborah Hill, and Deborah Hill did most of the dialogue for Laurie and Annie, and so the girls' dialogue
was written by a woman.
Feels natural.
Yeah, so it feels natural. Yeah. But was she, like, kind of coaching them through that too? Because I do think that's from, like, a writer to actor perspective. I know there can be, like, a
I'm sure there was that, because I imagine that she was on set because it was a very small production. So, but also when you're a group of girls at that age, or I would say the same thing for guys, like, if someone were to write kind of just, like, snappy dialogue between boys, like, you have an idea of what that sounds and feels like, because you do it, you know?
Exactly.
But I digress. I think it's...
Sorry, this guy with tea.
No. It's, I just think that it's very, very interesting that this insanely like well-rounded, very empowered individual that doesn't take any shit from anyone, comes across as believable and as likable as she is. It's fucking written by a man in the 70s, so there's a shining light of hope anytime.
I do also want to say I'm horrible at names. I absolutely adore her. She's a freaking babe. Before I watched this movie, I had seen her in Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that's the first thing I ever saw her in.
And then she was also in an adaptation of she was the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, she was in
which
something.
Was
Olivia Hussey.
Yes. Oh so, let's my see. God. I absolutely adore her, and I think she is such an amazing, she's a doll. Empowering. She's a doll, but she's an empowering actress. Like, even back then, when she played the Virgin Mary, I don't even know what it was in. But, because my dad had recorded it on VHS, and we would, like, watch it during the Christmas time. It was, like, a very...
Let's see. Juliet.
It was something, I don't know if it's called...
Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes, yeah. Jesus of Nazareth. And she was just...
Yeah, I've seen those promotional stills.
She's just, like, a great, empowering female actress. And
but and I mean that's again, she's a giant part of why this film succeeds is her performance. It's there's nuance to it. You can see that I've never, obviously I'm a man. I can't fathom what it means to make that decision to have an abortion. But I can't imagine it's a decision you come to lightly.
No. I mean, not that I would tell you if I had been in that situation. I have not, thank God.
But there's a lot going on behind that, and yet there's still moments of levity where she's laughing with her friends and having fun, even with this weight hanging over, even with the weight of her friends being, missing and a killer on the loose. It's just a great performance. I feel like the character of Jess Bradford doesn't get the acknowledgement
or recognition
that she really should.
Yeah.
On that note, I want to talk a little bit about Barb.
Yes.
Because that's another great character that we find out a lot about within the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie. She's drinking. She's talking on the phone with her mom, and she's looking forward to hanging out with her mom during Christmas, and then finds out that her mom's gonna be spending it with a man or something like that, and she's a little peeved about that, and then immediately takes that anger out on Claire.
Who then?
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Hello.
I think this is like the second time Siri's jumped in on conversations during the podcast. Apologize. Then that sends Claire upstairs, and so Barb has this guilt. And we see Barb kind of be this kind of tough as nails, like facade.
But yeah.
And she just feels terrible about it, but her drinking and her anger, she feels like people are judging her. How that comes out later on in the film. And this is a B tier character because Barb's there, but she's not necessarily you know, doing stuff. She's not out in the search party or anything like that.
But
She
I
does go to the police station.
Yeah, and then she starts the fellatio joke.
Uh-huh.
But I think what I liked about it was that it was like Mrs. Mack and Barb, like very strong personalities, and then Jess was kind of like here, just floating, and then these characters that you thought were gonna be like the slapstick or like the okay, they drink a lot, but they're gonna come and like slash the killer, fell off, and then Jess came in and was just this like silent hero in a sense. Like just like I'm gonna do what's right. I'm here watching the house. I need to call and say like, or I need to help them set up the phones to be tapped. And she was just like, I'm here to help. And then was really like,
yeah, I mean, it does very much, and I mean, this is 4 years before Halloween.
yeah, I was
And
asking about that. Yeah,
there's rumor that, and there's multiple stories that suggest that Halloween was originally gonna be a loose sequel to this, that Bob Clark had come up with a sequel to Black Christmas that was going to take place during Halloween,
okay,
and that John Carpenter had wrote Halloween, but it had no connection, and they both Bob Clark and John Carpenter acknowledge each other's works, and they're very
because there's a lot of parallels.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah,
100%. Obviously, Laurie Strode starts off also as this mouse like sort of just kind of not the big talk or anything like that, and then kind of through sheer will and circumstance rises to the occasion.
Yeah.
Not unlike Jess, obviously Laurie Strode has a little bit more of a successful story. But more on that later. We talked a little bit about Peter and just how awful he is, and how the gaslighting, and even just how he treats, and he never sees himself in a bad light, and that's probably the scariest thing, because as a man who has said and done stupid things and felt that I was in the right to say and do those stupid things at the time, and then you look back and you go, okay, that was dumb, or I was being egotistical or selfish. Like, the thing that is most awful about Peter is that I can see bits of myself in him, not in a big like way, but in the manipulation
or the way of thinking, and just like,
and again, thinking, not having an open mind and an open heart to acknowledge another individual's feelings or their circumstances.
Yes, exactly.
And we're all human. We all fuck up, and we all want to do better.
Yeah.
But there are hints in that are so real and so believable, and that I've seen in other people and I've seen in myself, that you just go, God, that's what your average man is like, and that's what's most despicable about him, is that he's so normal.
It's been ingrained
in
his throughout history and society that's what he's supposed to act or think or believe or
and be,
and
that it kind of goes to the patriarch of it all, which I think is an overlying theme in this film, is that men control and women tag along or are silenced. And I mean, you see that with Nash, just saying, oh, calm down, she's probably with her boyfriend out doing this, or oh, calm down, you know, it's you know, probably just a crank call or something like that.
Which I was seeing until the boyfriend of Claire came in and was like, yo, what's
Yes.
going on? I'm here playing ice hockey, and her, you know, sorority mate is coming over and saying, like...
And he's a great character, like
Yeah.
a very great,
Yeah.
like off
I
to the
like
side
that.
character.
Yeah.
I love how he comes in
Yeah.
and
He's
how
like,
he
she's
just,
not with me. She's not at a
Yeah.
cabin with a random dude.
and
Like,
that is the guy that you're like, all right, be like that guy.
yeah.
Be like that guy. Don't take any shit and be fucking helpful and
Yeah.
and you know, I love that. But again, like even this movie does a very good job of just showing, like you just see it, of just men being men and just thinking that women don't know or they don't understand. And you just see it in very subtle, like
Mm-hmm.
natural ways that
Mm-hmm.
you're just like, and then these women are dying because
Men aren't.
men aren't doing their job. They're like, get the fuck out of the house! Like, bring them all to the police station. What are you guys
Like,
doing
come
at
on.
this point?
Search the house. Don't put freaking trackers on the phone.
And I
Search
mean, like, by the end of the film, like, nothing has changed.
I know.
Nothing.
Yeah.
They leave Jess alone. They all walk out and leave her alone because they know
Mm-hmm.
that they figured it out.
Yeah.
Because we're all so proud of ourselves because we did it. You know? Of
Yeah.
course we were right. Of course it was the boyfriend. It couldn't have been anybody else. That's too crazy. The girl's fine. She's fine.
She can. Yeah. No weird guys in the attic. Or whatever. Yeah.
But it's insane to me, like, how ahead of its time this movie is.
Oh my god, yeah, that was what, 40 years ago?
Yeah.
Almost 50?
Where are we? I can't.
We're
do
mid
math.
70s. That was mid 70s?
Yeah.
So 30 is to 2000. We're in 2022. That's like 50 years
You
ago.
do math for a living, so. Yeah.
I try to.
Um,
Hey, if you guys need an accountant, hit me up.
shameless plug. We're all about it here. I got a.
Not the TikTok kind, sorry. The actual accountant.
I don't even
kind.
know that. Oh, I don't know what that. Oh.
Oh, TikTok accounting is you are in sex work.
Wow.
So I'm an actual accountant. I do numbers.
Learn something new every day. I don't do the tick and I don't do the talk.
Ugh, you waste my time. Tickety tock.
Ticking and talking.
This has been a really. I just want to say, I did not know going into this. This is where this conversation was going to go, and I'm very thankful that we went there because I just thought we were going to watch a scary Christmas movie.
I think this movie
Yeah.
has a lot on its mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I'm not necessarily in a place to really say much, so much as just bring out the dialogue about it, because it's obviously an issue that is still out there, and how there are issues with equality and stuff like that, and on both sides, left and right, but certain sides more than others, I would say. So I just
we don't gotta go there.
and again, this is just a film that if you just barely scratch the surface, you can see all the things that it's talking about.
Yeah, and like the first time I saw this film was when you gave me the DVD when I actually had a DVD player in 2017, whatever, and I thought I had watched it again since then, but I guess I hadn't. And so I was pleasantly surprised to, rewatch it and
Reevaluate.
reevaluate it. Yeah, but it's still an awesome film.
Yeah, even on if you take it at face value, it's a great film.
Yeah, agreed.
With that said, I got like two other things that I want to cross off my goods, and then we'll move on. The score, it's a very subtle score. You don't hear much. It's mostly just like a strum of a harp.
Yeah, but
that is very.
It goes to the high note, and that's where you're like,
yeah,
whoa.
and it's very creepy.
Mm-hmm.
Very subtle. I like it. I feel like you don't hear a harp used a lot.
True, but I can also true. Mm. But also, have you ever watched a scary movie without the music? And when the jump scares are supposed to come, you're like, oh.
Yeah, it doesn't do it.
No, it's all about music.
It's that.
It's the building, but then the music, the sound is what does it for me.
It's well, it's the same thing that if you were to close your eyes and listen to it. Like, I mean, again, it's probably still be pretty scary because your brain takes over.
Yeah.
But it is that perfect combination of visuals and sound that really kind of seal the deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I used to watch movies when I would get scared. You just plug your ears and you watch it.
I would do this like halfway through my eyeballs because I still wanted to hear it. I would just be like, oh, I don't know.
Or I would run around the corner of our living room and just kind of like peek out and see.
Oh my god, I think I told you about my brother and I like running into the kitchen while my mom and stepdad were watching The Exorcist, and we were like, no.
You did tell me that. I do remember that.
We were tiny.
Yeah, that's how old were you?
Oh god. Maybe I was like 8 and he was 4, or I was like,
it's really too young to see The Exorcist.
Wait, no, we weren't that young. We were like tweens, so I was like
still
10. I was like 10
young.
and he was like 6 and a half.
That's really too young to see The Exorcist. What do I know? My kid's probably gonna see it younger.
I was gonna say.
But my last thing, I think the ending of this film is perfect. I love how ambiguous it is. I know that's a little bit of a bothersome thing for you, but for me it's like The Thing.
Yes.
Where you just don't know, and very few horror movies actually earn that ambiguous ending, that bleak like ending, and earn it well. And we don't find out who the killer is. We know the killer's still alive. And
so where's the sequel?
I don't think there needs to be one. That's
Oh,
why
God.
that's why it's so good. It's just
I know.
ends,
I
you know?
know. Mm-hmm.
And our heroine is most likely, I would put money on it, she dies. She dies. She's
100%.
dead.
Yeah.
Again, because of the failure of people to do their job and to listen and to be thorough and to not just pat themselves on the back, you know? Fuck, it's such a good fucking ending.
Yes. Okay.
Agreed. Do you have any bad stuff? You touched on a little bit. Any negatives?
The accents that kept changing. I was like, oh my god, this.
Well, I mean, okay, if I can play devil's advocate, you can go to college in Canada and you be from other places. Obviously, Jess is from fucking not Canada. I don't know if she's from Britain or what, but she does have a very interesting British accent.
It was kind of like all over the place. I didn't really have any other bads besides that. Did I? I went on a tangent earlier, but that was.
It was about the speakerphone.
Oh, which, okay, now that you're like, oh, it's the 70s, there's like zooming. But I just didn't like that all these girls were like this far apart from the phone. Come on.
Again,
Okay,
I
I'm
see
getting,
where you're-
I'm
I
getting
see-
nitpicky. I'm getting
I
nitpicky.
see what you're saying.
I'm getting nitpicky.
In real life, they would probably all be listening
They'd be
in.
like-
probably
like
close.
this,
It
yeah.
just probably
be like a-
cinematically not as visually appealing. But again,
But remember how we did the like telephone things with the string? They were
Mhm,
gonna have like
mhm.
one of those like.
you just have that telephone, and they all stick it next to the phone.
They're
and
like-
listen. Hey, there's an idea. You put that in the sequel. Yeah, I have 0 bad stuff for this film. I think this is a perfect film. Spoiler alert for my ranking later on. I have 0.
Perfect.
I have 0
Wow.
problems with this film.
Okay.
I would not change a thing. And
Neither would I. You're right.
but I think if you're okay with this, unless you got anything more to add at this particular stage, maybe we take a quick break and then we circle back and talk a little about making of, and then give our rankings, which I feel like I just did. But
I mean, I read your brain. I know what yours is, but they don't know what mine is.
fair enough. Cool. So look forward to that on the second part of this discussion of 1974's Black Christmas. We'll be right back.
Oh, hello. Welcome back.
So, would you rather have to drink 3 glasses of eggnog with every meal that you ate, or be forced to sing Christmas carols every time you went to the bathroom and or showered?
That's rude.
You have to answer it, so would you rather?
Okay, it's a Christmas Carol thing.
You gonna do the Christmas carol?
Yeah, because eggnog is so heavy. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, 3 glasses
I
of
would
eggnog.
die.
You would put,
I would
you would put on
freaking
so much
die.
weight if you had to do that with every. But then again, you like maybe just have like a couple of carrots and a chicken breast, and then drink your eggnog, and then
No.
that's your protein right
I
there.
couldn't even eat the carrots and the chicken breast because the eggnog
If
would
you
just.
dip it in the eggnog, maybe it makes it a little bit soggy, easier to put down.
That's
You
not
gotta
how
get your nutrients.
No, I will sing Christmas carols, which also hurts my soul.
What's your go-to Christmas carol? Yet a
We
mean
wish
one.
you were. Yes, it should be the Grinch. It should, because I'm kind of a Grinch. But
Yes, you are.
what? Sorry.
Ebenezer Scrooge.
Shut up. I'm stealing that from you.
You're welcome.
Don't copyright it because I'm stealing that from you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, my dears.
Merry Johnyness.
Mary, what was it? Abbey Bowen? Hey, on to the next subject. Oh, nice.
Sorry. It's gonna go louder, and then you started talking.
I'm
It would
sorry,
be rude
I-
to interrupt
I
with a
interrupt.
burp.
No. Please, please, can you make a better one?
I can't.
Oh, God.
The moment has
The
passed.
pressure's on. Okay.
Welcome back to the Johnny Horror Podcast. We're in it. We're in the thick of it.
We're a little bit drunker.
Just like a little bit. Not like
Smidge.
a lot.
Yeah.
We're not drinking. I don't even think we're drinking as much as we usually do. So look at us.
We're not.
Yeah. Look at
I'm
us.
trying to be good.
Yeah. I just feel like every time we get to this stage of the podcast, there's lots of reading that needs to happen, and I start slurring.
I've already been slurring.
We're jumping right back in. I think this is all gonna be one episode. I'm not even gonna split this up.
I was gonna say, I think we can.
I
fit it
feel
all
like
in.
it'll be easier for me to get it all out before Christmas if I just put it in one episode. So I'm not even gonna do any fucking introductions. We're talking about Black Christmas, and here we go. We're talking a little bit about the behind the scenes business right now. We're just gonna touch on the development and the casting, and some other bullshit. But right out the gate, let's just jump into the development of the film. Black Christmas was initially developed by Canadian screenwriter Roy Moore,
Okay.
who wrote the screenplay under the title Stop Me, which is terrifying.
Mm.
Inspirations for the film came from the urban legend known as The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, which, if I may digress for a brief moment...
Let's go there.
We're gonna go hop over to The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs because it is fucking terrifying. The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs is an urban legend that dates back to the 1960s about a teenage girl babysitting children who receives a phone call from a stalker who continually asks her to check the children. The basic storyline has been adapted a number of times. The 1950 murder of teenage babysitter Jeanette Chrisman is commonly cited as a source for the legend. So, the legend details a girl who is watching television at night while babysitting after the children have been put to bed upstairs. The phone rings. The unknown caller tells her to check the children. The girl dismisses the call, but the anonymous caller dials back several times, and the girl becomes increasingly frightened. Eventually, the babysitter calls the police, who inform her that they will trace the next call. After the stranger calls again, the police return her call, advising her to leave immediately. She evacuates the home, and the police meet her to explain that the calls were coming from inside the house, and that the unidentified prowler was calling her after killing the children upstairs. Fucking scary.
Terrifying! Are you freaking kidding me?
Also, if someone called me, if I was babysitting and someone told me to check the children, I would go fucking check the children.
Yeah, not just like, oh, you're bullshitting me. No. Hello.
Are you kidding me? Other versions now. This is where
also,
it gets...
that was my first job babysitting.
Yeah.
I was like 12 and I got paid $20 an hour and I was like...
You got paid $20 an hour back then?
Yes!
That was like 20 years ago.
You're aging me. Yeah.
We're old. I thought they got paid like $20 an hour now. You were making good money back then.
It was like 3 hours, but still.
Hey, that's $60 for a 12-year-old. That's the fucking moon. No, you're good. No need to apologize. Siri, oh, don't tell me what to do. So other versions, and this is where it gets a little interesting. In more modern versions, rather than be tormented by menacing phone calls, the babysitter is unnerved by what she assumes to be a hideous, life-size statue of a clown in the corner of the room.
Oh, fuck that.
When the mother or father of the children she is caring for calls to check in, the babysitter asks if she can cover the clown statue with a blanket, and the parent informs the babysitter that they do not own a clown statue. The statue was really a murderer who attacks and kills the girl before she can escape. Fucking creepy.
Yeah.
In
But
more...
I don't like the clown archetype.
Yeah.
That's like overplayed.
It is, but I mean, like, it's still like... Can you imagine just, like, looking in a corner, just having, like, a clown, like, stare at you?
I would be like, fuck off.
Yeah. In more child-friendly versions, the caller turns out to be one of the children or an elder sibling, and blah, 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 blah. That's not scary. Let's see. In other versions, the babysitter is also killed. The babysitter manages to rescue the children. And the prowler gets arrested by the police. However, in most versions, the children do not survive. While being taken away by the police, the prowler whispers or says out loud, "See you soon," to the babysitter. While being taken away by the police, the prowler... oh, no, I just reread that. Sorry. In some versions, the prowler calls the babysitter. He just makes scary noises like giggling or heavy breathing, if that sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Also, in this version, when the operator says that the calls have been coming from inside the same house, the phone goes quiet, and when the operator asks if the babysitter is still there, all they get is the same scary noises, meaning that the babysitter has already been killed. Fucking terrifying. The children are with the babysitter while watching television. The Prowler starts phoning them, saying that he'll be with them in a decreasing amount of time. Then after they get the news that the calls are coming from inside the house, they hear a door upstairs opening, and then the sound of footsteps heading down towards the room where they are. This version can be found in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark books.
That's because they made that into a movie. And then, yep.
Years later, the babysitter is now an adult and has a family of her own. One evening, she and her husband go out to dinner while a babysitter looks after their children. The evening is going well until the waiter approaches their table and says that there's a phone call for them. She answers the phone and says, "Did you check the children?" This ending appears at the end of some movie versions. That's fucking legendary right there. The police inform one of the children that they found the Prowler underneath the kid's bed holding a weapon.
Fuck that.
Yeah, that whole bit, particularly the statue one. The statue one gets me because just like it, and I love the idea that something that characters like, all right, that's unnerving, and it's weird that they have that, and it just keeps on bothering her, and she keeps on going back, and no matter where she goes, she just feels the eyes on her, and then she calls and is like, "Hey, is there any chance I could just cover this up or do something?" And they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Oh,
and that
my God.
that realization of like, oh,
No.
fuck no. Fucking terrifying.
I don't know. I feel like the movies where it's like, I have a friend in the closet. Like the parents walk in and they're like literally playing games with them. And they're like, "Who are you talking to?" She's like, "This person."
Yeah.
You can't see them. What the hell? No.
Yeah, I like all that weird stuff. I think that I remember reading that years ago, going to that Wikipedia page for The Babysitter and the Man Upstairs, and just reading it by myself and being thoroughly creeped out just by what we just read right now. I don't know, that I think it's a great place to build a story upon, which is obviously what we have here for this film. So we digress. So that urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs had become widespread during the 1970s. Roy Moore, the screenwriter, claimed to have been inspired by a series of murders that occurred during the holiday season in the Westmount area of Montreal.
Okay, Canada.
As noted in an article of the Telegraph, the murders which occurred in 1943 were perpetrated by a 14-year-old boy who bludgeoned several of his family members to death. Kind of goes back to what I was getting at, where I think Billy killed one of his family members.
Yeah. Because this was a note in my phone. Every time there were like different voices, so I thought that as soon as we found another like body, like when they were doing the search party, that I was like, oh, it was a recording of the people killed before. But then you telling me like, I never found him, like.
Yeah.
But it was like every time there was like an additional voice, but it was always Billy. Like there'd be like a girl screaming, like a little girl screaming, or there'd be like a guy screaming.
Yeah, and to that point, there could be an argument made that, you know, every time he kills, you know, one of these people, he kind of splits off into another personality, and then you get all these personalities interacting with each other. If, in my mind, what I think it is, there are four people that he's really doing. He's doing Billy.
Okay.
He's doing his mother, his father, and he's doing Agnes. And all of those people are cycling in, and then he has the squealing and the screaming on top of that.
Yeah.
So I think it's really those four people that are conversing.
And just he kind of
just jump
finagles,
in between whether or not he is those people in that moment, or if he's just reciting things that he remembers hearing during those points. So that's my opinion of what is happening on those phone calls. But I mean, I think again, as with a number of points in this film, that's up to the viewer's discretion.
Yeah.
You know.
Sorry, just had to.
No. Please.
Side note in.
Let's see. Where was I? The film producers Harvey Sherman and Richard Shoughton had Timothy Bond rewrite the script, giving it a university setting. Bob Clark, that is, who felt the original script was too much of a straightforward slash film, made several alterations to the dialogue and also incorporated humorous elements to the film, particularly the drunkenness of Barb and Mrs. Mack, who Clark based on his aunt. Clark felt that the college and high school students had not been depicted with any sense of reality in American film, and he intended to capture the astuteness of young adults. College students, even in 1974, are astute people. They are not fools. It's not all bikinis, beach blankets, and bingo. That's Bob Clark's quote.
That depends on what fucking college you went to.
I agree. I think he's just making a general assumption of the depiction of teenagers in film or young adults in film up to that point. And he's right, because that's a generalization.
Yeah. And also, every single person that was depicting a teen was at least in their mid-20s.
Yeah.
At least.
So,
which is also odd.
You know, it's great to know that obviously we had Bob Clark bringing the humor in. We kind of knew that was his hand that he was playing, but the realism again that we talked about with Jess and even with the other girls, Barb and Phyllis, they just feel like real people. They don't feel like caricatures or cardboard cutouts. You know, they do feel like you could go and meet these girls and that they would be real human beings, which I think is very much a testament to Bob Clark as a director to make this all very, very believable.
Yeah.
How do you feel about taking casting? You want to take a stab at that?
Lord.
It's only 2 paragraphs.
Olivia Hussey, who had previously garnered international fame for her role as Juliet in Franco's Romeo and Juliet, 1968, signed on to appear in the film after being told by a psychic that she would make a film in Canada that would earn a great deal of money. Billy?
I did a bit about this in one of my videos, and I said that was bullshit.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
You know, I've heard it on multiple sources, so maybe it's true.
Okay, Clark sought Keir Dullea to play the role of Peter based on his performance as Abbey Bowen in Space Odyssey. The role of Miss Mack was offered to Bette Davis. Oh my god, who declined the part. Mark Kidder was cast in the role of Barb and said she had been attracted to the character because she was wild and out of control.
She's not wrong.
And not a conventional leading part. For the role of Claire Harrison, whose murder... Wait, is this... Oh yeah, we've already been there. Whose murder...
Claire dies, everyone.
Okay, I know, sorry. Whose murder jumpstarts the film's plot, Toronto native Lynn Griffin was cast after her mother, who was also her casting agent at the time. Griffin will later go on to start
in Curtains, which is great, 1983.
Oh, sorry.
Great film.
And in the acclaimed Wind in My Back. Oh god, that went for really long. 96 to... No, it's not that long. Wait, that is... No. Math.
It's 5 years.
Shut up. Wait, how long ago was this film? Just kidding. Gilda Radner was offered the role of Phyllis Carlson. She accepted the part, but dropped out 1 month before filming began.
Owing
to... That is...
Saturday Night Live commitments.
It was a placement. Why are you making me read this?
Just so people don't have to listen to my fucking voice all the time.
The role of Lieutenant Fuller was originally given to Edmund O'Brien. Upon his arrival to the set, however, the producers realized he would be unable to fulfill the duties required of the part due to his failing health. Oh my god, that's sad. Alzheimer's. John Saxon, who read the script prior, was called by the producers who offered him the role. He accepted and had to arrive in Toronto from New York City within 2 days to begin shooting. For the role of the film's antagonist, Italian-Canadian actor Nick Mancuso was cast as one of the main voices in the phone call sequences. When auditioning for the role, director Clark had Mancuso sit in a chair facing away from him so as not to see the actor's face. Clark then had Mancuso experiment with different voices in order to come up with one that was right for the character, with Clark later offering him the part. That's so cool. Are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
John Saxon appeared in the first
Giallo.
Giallo. What does that mean?
That is an Italian slasher film.
Oh, okay.
It's an Italian slasher film, but it is not specific to Italian films anymore.
Okay,
It started out that way,
okay.
but then you get a number of films that fall into that genre.
Sorry, I just sped right through all of that.
No, you're good.
Actually,
So Olivia Hussey plays Jess. Obviously, she was famous for Romeo and Juliet.
love her, such a babe.
The guy who plays Peter in this was also the main character in 2001, which came out like fucking, what is that, 6 years before, and he looks so much older in 2001 than he does in this. He looks like he's 40 years old in 2001: A Space Odyssey, and he very much looks like a college guy in this movie. So that's just great.
Weird.
Production value and costuming and whatnot. Obviously Margot Kidder, who plays Barb, would go on to play Lois Lane in the Superman films. That is what she is most famous for. And the gal who played Phyllis, Andrea Martin, would have a cameo as Mrs. Mack in the remake in 2006. John Saxton, who plays Lieutenant Fuller, is probably best known for his role as fucking Lieutenant
Dan?
No.
Sorry.
It's so funny. We were watching Forrest Gump today. It was on the TV.
Someone Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Thompson in Nightmare on Elm Street. He plays Nancy's dad.
Okay.
But yeah, so that pretty much covers most of our big actors in this film. Let's see. All right, here we go. Filming. Black Christmas was shot on location in Toronto in the winter of 1973 to 1974. The house featured in the film had been discovered by Clark while scouting for locations, and its owners agreed to lease the home for the production. That's crazy. That was actually like someone's home. It wasn't like a sorority house or anything like that. That is a big fucking house.
Dude, all the levels?
Yeah.
I was commenting on that the whole time. I'm like, how do you come? And it's like...
Yeah. Quite what a fucking
extravagant.
solid house.
Yeah.
Additional photography was completed on the University of Toronto campus. According to John Saxon, Clark had meticulously drawn out storyboards with key shots which he had brought to the film each day. I fucking love that. Storyboards make everything just so much more clear, so much more concise. I fucking dig it. Anytime a director does it, it's It's fucking solid. John Saxon said of Bob Clark, I could understand exactly what I thought he needed and the scene needed. Scenes involving the POV shot of Billy scaling the house, which was the two hands, was accomplished through a use of a rig designed by the camera operator Burt Dunk, which was attached to Dunk's head as he climbed up the side of the house.
I was going to say, was it the head or the chest?
Yeah. Griffin's death scene, which was shot with a handheld camera in a real closet, was accomplished in only a couple of takes. According to Griffin, her character's surprise as killer lunges from the closet was genuine. As the actress later recalled, it was a total shock because I didn't really know when to expect him to jump out. Shots of Claire's corpse in the rocking chair required the actress to wear an actual plastic bag over her head for an extended period of time.
Up.
Told you. Griffin would also state that these scenes came relatively easy for her. I was actually and still am a fairly good swimmer, so I could hold my breath for a long time.
Okay.
And I could also keep my eyes open for a long time without blinking, which is probably the harder thing if I had to.
Well, both at the same time.
Yeah.
Come on.
Margot Kidder remembered shooting the film as being fun. I really bonded with Andrea Martin, filming in Toronto and Ontario. Olivia Hussey was a bit of an odd one. She was obsessed with the idea of falling in love with Paul McCartney through her psychic. Apparently the psychic is a real deal.
Okay.
We were a little bit hard on her for things like that. Post-production. The composer of the film was Carl Zitterer. Stated in an interview that he created the film's mysterious music by tying forks, combs, and knives onto the strings of piano to warp the sound of the keys. That's what I thought.
So it wasn't a harp.
No, it's really cool though, because you can almost hear those the sound of a comb where it pings on the.
Yeah. And when you said harp, I was like, that's not a harp.
It's
not. It's a stringed instrument, but it was not a harp.
It's catching those edge of the combs right there.
Yeah.
He also stated that he would distort the sound further by recording it onto an audio tape and then making it slower. The audio for the disturbing phone calls was performed by multiple actors, including Mancuso, who was the physical representation of Billy, and director Bob Clark. Mancuso stated in an interview that he stood on his head during a recording session to compress his thorax and make his voice sound more demented. Mancuso spent only 3 days recording the dialogue for the character, later recalling the experience very avant-garde, with Bob Clark encouraging him to improvise with the character's voice. During preparation in 1975 for the film's American release, Warner Brothers Studios exec asked Clark to change the concluding scene to show Claire's boyfriend, Chris, appear in front of Jess and say, "Agnes, don't tell him we did it," before killing her. Suggests that the goalie was the killer. However, Clark insisted on keeping the ending ambiguous. The original title of the film was initially planned to be Stop Me. Clark has stated in an interview that he came up with the film's official title, saying that he enjoyed the irony of a dark event occurring on a festive holiday. According to Clark, as well, Warner Brothers changed the title of Silent Night, Evil Night for the United States theatrical release. Yeah, there you go.
The way you chew ice is so...
Yeah, sorry, I apologize to everyone.
It's cool, but
it's only when I drink, because I have to have ice cubes. Let's see. Blow through this right here. Do you want to read theatrical distribution? It's just this right here. I'll jump in for television premiere controversy.
Black Christmas was distributed in Canada by Ambassador Film Distributors and released in Toronto on 1974.
Oh, wait.
11.
We're getting all this information from Wikipedia, so we just got to give a
like
big round of applause to anybody who's ever contributed to the Wikipedia page for Black Christmas, because we don't get paid to research this, so that's why we go to Wikipedia. All right, thank you very much, Wikipedia people. All right, sorry.
Starting. This is all a run-on sentence. I hate it. In the United States, Warner Bros. Released the film in tandem with Christmas Season on December 20th, 1974. For the American release, the Warner Brothers initially changed the title to You already read this.
No, it's different.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. They changed it to Silent Night, Evil Night. Worried that the original title would mislead audiences into believing that this was a black... What is that?
Blaxploitation. It was films that were kind of like in the grindhouse vein of kind of like Shaft and Blackula and stuff like that, where it would kind of exploit
minorities,
black people
Okay,
as
yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't like that term, blaxploitation. Anyways, whatever. They retracted the title after the initial release, restoring it to Black Christmas for subsequent screenings. The film later screened on October 20th, 1975 in New York City and Chicago, as well as 19 theaters in Los Angeles, where it generated considerable ticket sales. This prompted Warner Bros. To expand the release of a total of 70 theaters nationwide in time for Halloween, but the film only generated a daily average of $700 per theater per day, which after Warner Bros. Withdrew from the film, the circulation just... Wait, what?
Withdrew the film from circulation in December.
Okay. $700 per theater per day. Is that really that bad? That sounds like it's...
I mean, in the 70s, that sounds pretty good, but probably still wasn't what they were hoping for, I guess.
Right, whatever. The film had previously screened under the alternative... Yeah, like you said. The film was the third highest grossing Canadian film of all time in Canada, with a gross of $2 million behind The Apprenticeship of Duddy Kravitz and French language Du Femme, or 1970 directed...
Du Femme in Awe.
It's just Du Femme. Whatever. Overall, Black Christmas grossed over $4,053,000 initially, managing to earn more than its budget of $620,000. That's awesome. When released in the UK, the BBFC had the worst, or had the word cunt. That's my favorite cuss word. Removed, as well as several other crude and sexual references during the first obscene phone call.
That is really where it is probably the most
Yes.
intense. All right, here we go. Television premiere controversy. The film, under the title Stranger in the House, was set to make its network television premiere on Saturday night, January 28th, 1978, on NBC Weekly. So weird. 4 years after the film comes out, they're going to release it on TV and they're going to try and change its name again. Like, what? NBC Weekly, Saturday night at the movies. 2 weeks prior to its premiere, Chi Omega Sorority House on the campus of Florida State's University in Tallahassee was the scene of a double murder in which 2 Chi Omega sisters asleep in their beds were bludgeoned to death. That was Ted Bundy! Yes, that was Ted Bundy! The killer in a nearby room in the sorority house and violently attacked the 2 co-eds who survived. The killer was later identified as Ted Bundy. There it is. Who was executed for this and other homicides. Just tack that on there.
Just a few.
Many years later.
Yeah.
A few days before the film was set to premiere on network television, Florida's then governor Ruben Askew contacted NBC President Robert Mulholland to request that the movie not be shown. due to its similar theme of murders in sorority sisters by an unknown madman. Yeah, that all checks out. And jump ahead to critical response, and we'll jump up down to legacy. So during its initial release, the film garnered mixed reviews. You know what? I don't want to read all this shit.
No.
It's just a bunch of people talking trash. Even Gene Siskel gives it 1.5 stars out of 4. Called it a routine shocker. You know what? None of these assholes know jack shit, and I'm sure most of them are dead. So, you know.
But also, I'm gonna help him edit his review so that I don't have to sit there and be like, speed read. Like, remember when we were in elementary school and like got told what paragraph? You're like, please.
Are you gonna edit this? Is this what you're saying? You're gonna.
I'm gonna make bullet points for you.
I don't need bullet points. All right, we're gonna end with legacy. Black Christmas eventually gained a cult following and is notable for being one of the earliest slashers. It went on to inspire other slasher films, the biggest of all being John Carpenter's Halloween, which apparently was inspired by Clark suggesting what a Black Christmas sequel would be like. Black Christmas has been included on multiple lists in various media outlets as one of the greatest horror films ever made. The film ranked number 87 on Bravo's 100 of the Scariest Movie Moments, and it was ranked number 67 on IndieWire's 100 Best Horror Movies of All Time. Its entry stating, "The plot sounds formulaic, but Black Christmas remains timeless thanks to its terrifying and elusive killer Billy, whose backstory is never revealed, as well as the foreboding ending that doesn't offer much hope for the film's final girl." Thrillist Scott Weinberg, in his article of the 75 best horror movies of all time, ranked the film at number 48. Paul Schroet of Esquire placed film at number 23 in his list of the 50 best horror movies of all time. In 2017, Complex Magazine named Black Christmas the second best slasher film of all time. The following year, Pace listed it as the third best slasher film of all time, while also placing the character of Jess Bradford at number 1 in their list of best final girls in horror movie history. Yes. While Director Clark maintained he did not intend for the film to have political leanings, critics have noted that Black Christmas is nonetheless a feminist film for its treatment of female characters, particularly Jess having an agency and making the choice to have an abortion. Case in point. And its portrayal of casual misogyny, as when the police initially failed to take the sorority's concerns about the phone calls and Clear's absence seriously. Film critic Tim Dirks of the film review website filmsite.org added the film to his list of films featuring the greatest plot twists, film spoiler, and surprise ending based on the film's major plot twist and the revelation that the real killer was inside the unsearched attic and Jess' implied murder. Olivia Hussey told Bravo during an interview about their 100 Scariest Movie Moments series that when she met Steve Martin for the first time, he told her that she starred in one of his favorite movies of all time. Hussey initially thought he was referring to Romeo and Juliet and was surprised to find out that he meant Black Christmas, and he had seen the film 27 times.
27 times.
That's a lot of times.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, so there's remakes and novelizations and stuff, but I think we can just go ahead and dial this in and wrap it up since we're all like rambling and shit like that. are your final thoughts and your ranking on 1974's Black Christmas?
I'm gonna do an 8.5 out of 10 because I like the representation of women. Jesus Christ, we've been drinking a lot. But also just there were so many ways that they were like portrayed, like, oh, this is stereotypical of this and that and that. But you know, it was still scary and it was still very dark and Christmassy at the same time.
Hell yeah. What do I say about Black Christmas? In my humble opinion, it is the best slasher of all time. I think it's better than Halloween. I think it's scarier than Halloween. I think the killer is cooler. Probably because he hasn't been done to death by many a sequel. And I fucking love Halloween is my favorite franchise.
Yeah.
I fucking
I
love
know,
them all except for one. But this, like I said earlier, is a perfect film. I have zero gripes with this movie. I wouldn't change one fucking thing about it. I love the holiday spirit. It still scares me. It's still a fucking scary movie. And I saw this as an adult. Most of the movies that find that little like part of me that clenches to fear in my heart and in my stomach is stuff that I saw when I was younger, and it's that fear that stuck with me when I was younger that I feel. But this is a movie that I saw when I was an adult, and
Same.
It's unnerving. It's creepy. And I don't know, man. I fucking love every single thing about it. I can't speak highly enough of it. If you've never seen this movie, I'm sorry I've spoiled it all for you here, but my God, go fucking watch it and rewatch it and watch it once more, because it's
gonna love it.
For a movie as dark and bleak as it is, it's the perfect Christmas movie. It's so fucking Christmassy.
But also dark at the same time.
And scary as fuck, and has so much to say. I fucking love it. 10 out of 10. If I could rank it 11 out of 10, I would, but I just think it's a perfect movie. I can't really. I would say this is probably my favorite ending to a horror movie, with The Thing right beneath it, and then probably Halloween after that. I fucking love it so much. So I would say you're an 8.5. I'm a 10 out of 10.
You
so
said 11 out of 10.
yeah, that's not. Unfortunately, that's not the ranking scale. So what does that put us at? Like a 9? That puts us at like a 9.5. We'll do 9.5 out of 10 for the Jony Horror Podcast for Black Christmas 1974. Fuck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming over. Thanks for watching this movie. Thanks for talking to me about it.
Yeah.
This is a lot of fun. I was very excited to do this movie. I'm very excited that you were here to be a part of it.
Thank you.
Any other final Christmas thoughts? Anything that you're gonna do? You're gonna go up to the snow, make a snowman, have him come to life.
Well, if I go to snow, it's gonna be like up the mountains of Ojai, which is fucking right there. The snow is really low. Anyway, I just hope that everyone has a really good time with their family and just, enjoys the people they want.
I'm watching, waiting.
I just hope everyone has a great rest of their holiday season and be safe and spend really good time with your family.
and drink lots of eggnog because it's
Oh,
just so it's so
God.
good.
It is, but it has to be
so
like
good.
in like very small amounts.
Not 3 glasses with whatever meal you're eating.
No.
3 glasses of eggnog with your eggs in the morning.
That's right. Yeah, no, I might like overdose.
Are there actually eggs? There has to be eggs in eggnog, right?
Dude. Yes.
I don't know. These are the questions that keep me up at night. And maybe they'll keep you up at night too. But in the meantime, thank you for tuning in. I have been your host, Jony Horror. This is my lovely friend, Abbey Bowen. Sorry, I should have let you say it.
No, that's cool.
And we're just here wishing you a very, very Merry Christmas and happy go fuck yourselves. And
Merry Grinchmas from me.
we'll see you next year, kiddos. Hasta la pasta.
I missed the line.
Agnes, it's me.
Oh my god, why can you do that so well?
It's Billy. It's me. It's Billy.